What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about which player is more important to the Houston Rockets, James Harden or Russell Westbrook. So let's see what they have to say about that.
James Harden in the clutch. He's unguardable.
He's a machine. He just scores.
Don't reach. Oh! 60 points for James Harden. Westbrook with a slam.
It doesn't matter what scheme or defense you run.
Westbrook, that's incredible.
Let's get it.
Rocket star Russell Westbrook tested positive for COVID-19, putting out a statement on social media that he tested before traveling to Orlando for the restart.
Yeah, right. You know Westbrook caught the coronavirus while he was in the bubble.
But is looking forward to joining his teammates once he's cleared. Our NBA Bubble or Nothing series continues with a look at Westbrook's Rockets. So when the season was suspended, the Rockets were 40-24. They were sixth in the West, with Westbrook scoring the most in the paint in the NBA this season, and teammate James Harden on pace to become the first player to average 30 points per game for 3 straight seasons since MJ. Max, you're up first. Who's more important to the Rockets for this title run? Is it Westbrook or Harden?
It's a trick question. Of course it's James Harden. All due respect to the great Russell Westbrook, who made an adjustment with the Rockets this season, or maybe D'Antoni did, but Westbrook was shooting too many threes. He wasn't hitting hardly any of them. He started just attacking. I mean, like, when a team says, all right, Russ, let's double down on attack mode, which is the only thing he really knows, duck. You know, and he's been great, no doubt about it. But of course it's James Harden, who's the best player on the team, who's the highest usage rate on the team, who has the highest usage rate on the team, who's had problems in the playoffs in the past. He goes from perennial MVP level player in the regular season to a solid all-star in the playoffs. But solid all-star, like, why such the huge drop-off? You know, they need
Choke City, baby.
him to be the best player on a championship team, not just an all-star. You ain't going to win with just an all-star as your best player.
Well, I don't know about that. I think you can win a championship with one all-star player. Kawhi Leonard kind of proved that last year with the Toronto Raptors. Kobe Bryant won 2 championships where he was the only player of his caliber, other than maybe Paul Gasol, maybe Meta World Peace. But for the most part, Kobe Bryant did it by himself as a player of his caliber. Let's see. So the Dallas Mavericks won a championship with Dirk Nowitzki, where Dirk Nowitzki was pretty much the only player on his team of his caliber. We could even go to Allen Iverson, where he went to the finals against the Lakers and was able to win one game off the Lakers in the finals when he was pretty much by himself. He was pretty much the only player of his caliber on his team. So you can definitely get to a championship and win a championship with only one All-Star. It's not easy, but it can be done. So let's continue.
So, of course, it comes down to Harden. They had a vulnerable Golden State team a couple of years ago. They had a game 7 at Houston. They had a million good looks at the basket from 3. They went something like, 3 for 30 at one point? Something like that. They had one of the worst shooting nights from 3 of all time. Harden was among the culprits. He could not elevate his game. He did it again last year when I keep mentioning he was looking for the call on Draymond Green jumping under his legs to try to get the whistle instead of looking to hit the shot. Could have won the game right there. Harden has had a bad time in the biggest moments in the playoffs. If that doesn't change, they won't win, period. If it does, and he's shown signs of life, you know, each year you see he's doing certain things better under pressure. If it changes, the Rockets can actually upset everyone and win the whole thing. But for that to happen, their best player, James Harden, has to don't have a shot.
So a lot of what Max just said kind of goes without saying. Normally, I would say that James Harden is more important to the Houston Rockets than Russell Westbrook. But at this point, I'm looking at things a little bit different. I'm looking at James Harden and Russell Westbrook as a duo that need to play together as one unit. No individuals. You can't say, well, I got 30 points, I did my job, and don't really be looking at anybody else. They need to play as a duo because if they want to go deep in the West, they're going to have to be playing against other duos like Anthony Davis or LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So they definitely need to work together as one unit, as a duo. So let's take a quick look at their stats real quick this year. So Russell Westbrook has been averaging 27.5 points a game. That's 7th overall for players. 8 rebounds. That's 21st overall. That's 21st overall for players. 7 assists. That's 12th overall for players. His PER is 21.59. That's 25th overall for players. So needless to say, Russell Westbrook is definitely taking care of business. So let's take a quick look at James Harden's stats for this year. So James Harden is averaging 34.4 points a game. That's 1st overall for players. He's number 1 in points scored for players in the league. He's been averaging 6.4 rebounds. That's 47th overall for players. 7.4 assists. That's 9th overall for players. And his PER is 28.39. That's 2nd overall for players. 2nd overall for players. So needless to say, both of these guys are absolutely taking care of business and balling out. That's what I'm saying. They can't be individuals when the playoffs start. They need to play together as a duo to be able to fight against other duos and make some moves in the Western Conference. So let's continue.
Well, listen, I don't think it's a trick question at all, and I respectfully disagree with you because to me it's not about who's the best player on the team. We know that's Harden. He's one of the greatest scorers this game of basketball has ever seen, and he's been that for the last several years, but it still couldn't get them over the hump. So you have to surmise that Harden is going to be Harden, even if he upgrades to some degree, which I suspect he will, come playoff time. I just believe in the dude. The bottom line is that's not the key. The key is Russell Westbrook. I would remind you that Russell Westbrook is averaging 27, 8, and 7 at the time that the season stopped. It was suspended. Of course, we got to hope and pray that he comes back healthy, he overcomes the COVID-19 virus, and obviously he'll be better. But even then, look at the personnel they've had. It's because you traded Clint Capella. You've now got Robert Covington. You've got Daniel House. You've got Eric Gordon back, and he's expected to be healthy. So you take all of those things into consideration. Who's the guy that's going to make things go for the rest of them? That's Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is the guy.
Now, both of those guys combined need to play as one, like I said. And they can put up, look at that, 61.8 points a game. Nice.
That's going to be penetrating into the teeth of the defense. He's the one that's going to be kicking it out to wide open shooters. Remember, James Harden launches about 12.6 3-point shots per game. Okay? They are the number 1 team in the NBA in 3-point attempts. They rank 23 in percentages made. Okay? But they rank top 3 in 2-point field goals made. That has a lot to do with Russell Westbrook, not just James Harden. And I'm not to say, again, I'm not saying that Russell is better than James Harden. James Harden is one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen in the history of basketball. He's that lethal. But if we're going to look at the Houston Rockets being coached by Mike D'Antoni, and we're going to be able to say, excuse me, they can win it all, they can win the chip, it's going to have to be Russell Westbrook that propels them there. Remember, when James Harden is scoring, a lot of times he's holding on to the ball, he's dancing on you, he's dribbling the basketball, and everybody else is standing around spectating. Russell Westbrook is in attack mode. He's either going to finish himself or he's going to kick it out to somebody else. He's not as selfish as people proclaim him to be.